whenever you feel like you're going to prioritize yourself or say no or do whatever you need to do for yourself, the first thing you feel is not empowerment, is guilt, because
Mm.
you have been raised to give and give and give until you have nothing left. And so in changing that mindset, it's like you have been raised to do, but at the end of the day, you know where that ends up. It ends up with you being exhausted, with you not taking care of yourself, with you not having time for your hobbies or the things that you value because you're prioritizing everybody else over yourself. And so working on realizing that you feel guilt because that's how you were conditioned, but it's okay to feel the guilt and still not backtrack.
Welcome to the Self Care Goddess podcast, where healing stories, practical self care strategies, and science backed tools to regulate stress, feel calm, grounded, and energized come together to help you reclaim your vitality. I'm your host, Rita Savoya, holistic nutritionist, trauma informed breathwork coach, and founder of Breathwork Barista. This podcast is for women who are ready to restore their energy and radiance, reconnect with their bodies, reawaken their inner power, and redefine self care as a way of being. Through science meets soul practices, restorative mind body tools, and real stories of transformation, we'll explore how true well being can help you live with more joy, vibrant health, and authentic connection to yourself and those you love. Take a deep breath in, let it go, and let's begin. Hello, hello, and welcome to another episode of the Self Care Goddess podcast with today's theme, strong, but at what cost? Dismantling the myth of the Superwoman with a very special guest here today. But before we start, as you know, on this podcast, we are going to walk the talk. We're going to give ourselves a few minutes to just tune out the outer world and tune in. How do we do that? If you feel comfortable lowering your gaze and staring at a fixed point, or even closing your eyes, and gift yourself these few moments of going within, following your breaths, flowing in through the nose, expanding the belly, the chest area, and then just letting it go with a gentle sigh. Continuing a little deeper and a little slower than usual, just tuning in to any part of your body that might be needing some attention today, and allowing the exhales to flow out of that area. So, inhaling through the nose, exhaling a little deeper, a little slower through that area that you might be feeling some tension, some tightness, some stiffness. Allow the exhales to help you soften that area, relax that area. A couple more breaths into this beautiful area that's asking for extra attention today. Show it some love. Mhm. And now I invite you to channel the breaths into the area of the heart. So allow the inhales and exhales to flow in and out of your heart area. Where attention goes, energy flows. So let's energize this beautiful organ that's keeping you alive every single second without asking for anything in return, showing some gratitude for your heart. I now invite you to visualize someone that you're grateful for today, living or past. Visualize this person as if they were right here in front of you. And I invite you to send them all the love, the gratitude, and the appreciation for being in your life. And in this space of immense gratitude for this person, let's send that love, gratitude, and appreciation. Let's send it back to ourselves for not giving up, for trying our best, for being here on your next inhale. Flutter your eyes open and come back to us. Thank you for participating in that quick coherence technique from the Heart Math Institute. So, today's guest is a woman who is redefining what strength truly means and what it costs to carry it. Dr. Nikia Smith is a board certified anesthesiologist, wellness coach, and retreat facilitator, and the founder of She is Fire Forged, a transformative wellness brand devoted to helping high achieving women of color reclaim their peace, power, and purpose. With over a decade of experience in the high stress world of medicine, Nikia brings a deeply informed and compassionate lens to conversations around burnout, boundaries, and emotional restoration. She understands both professionally and personally what it means to be everything for everyone and the quiet exhaustion that can come with it. Through her work, she guides women, especially Black women in leadership and healthcare, out of survival mode and into a life rooted in softness, self trust, and sustainability. Through retreats, coaching, and community, she creates spaces where women are invited to pause, to exhale, to reimagine what thriving truly looks like. On their own terms. Her approach is both grounded and expansive, blending evidence based wellness practices with embodied spiritual work, offering a path forward that honors the whole woman. And beyond her work, Nakia embodies what she teaches, prioritizing rest, joy, and connection, whether she's reading, spending time with loved ones, or simply creating space to recharge. Nakia, welcome to the Self Care Goddess podcast. How are you today?
I'm doing great, and thank you for having me. I'm very excited to be here.
Yes, and so am I. This is a topic that is really, really very dear to my heart because oftentimes, I'm sure you see this in your practice with your clients, women just put themselves last and they're trying to be everything to everybody and it comes at a cost, doesn't it?
A very significant cost, unfortunately.
So can you tell us a little bit more about your background? And I know I've read your bio, but what was that pivotal moment where you're like, no, I think I'm gonna do this now. And
Uh,
yeah, tell us a little bit about that.
It was pretty terrible. It was one of those movie scenes. I've been a board certified anesthesiologist for 10 years, and I had changed jobs a few times thinking maybe a new job would make me feel better because I knew something was wrong, but I kind of didn't know what it was. So I think a lot of people go to like, it's the job is draining me. Maybe if I change the job, I'll start to feel better. But at my pivotal moment, I had just finished a call shift and I was on call for 24 hours. And typically, you don't work most of those hours, which is why that's how the call is set up. But this particular call was brutal. I had worked maybe 20 of the hours and I was pulling into my house. It was 3 a.m. I had to be back in the OR at 7 a.m. And I just had that moment, which I think so many women can understand. Like they're in the car and they're just like, I can't even get out of the car. Like I'm home. I want to go and get in bed, but like I physically am just too drained to get out of my car. So I'm trying to decompress. I got consumed by a lot of emotions, the exhaustion, the anger, the sadness, the why me moment. And I think a lot of us can have that why me moment. And usually we come back to ourselves. And so that makes us more guilty and feel more, I don't know, whatever feeling we're feeling. We're like, oh, it's my own fault. So I deserve this, or I put myself here, or I asked for this. And as I was working through those emotions, like, yes, it is partially your fault because it's your life and you make the decisions. But that's when I started learning about self compassion and having as much compassion for myself as I give to everybody else on a daily basis. And realizing that we hear it all the time, but you make the decisions based on what you know. And so what I knew back then is what I knew back then. And what I know now is what I know now. And I can make new decisions. And that's just kind of how I shifted out of that despair moment. I let myself have the emotions 'cause I think
Mhm.
a lot move through them, but you have to just sit in them, but then also you can't drown in them. You have to just accept them and then say, "Okay, this is how I'm feeling. How do I move from here?"
Wow, wow. And in terms of that pivotal moment where you're like, was that it? Was that what made you switch?
Yeah, that was my pivotal moment. Like, the next day, I was just
Mhm.
like, what role did I play in this? And the role that I played was being a people pleaser and saying yes and letting my boundaries be kind of eradicated. So the next day I emailed my bosses. I'm like, look, moving forward, I'm not doing this anymore. Like, I'm not working these number of hours. If I'm working a long shift, I'm not working post call. And that was just like my first step because you have to take the own action in your life. Like, it's your life, only
Yeah.
you guide it. And so I was like, I want my life to feel better, and this is just the first step I can take.
Yeah, because consciously or not, um, some not everybody's out for your own interests, for your own good, right? It's got to be you that has to take that charge and and make yourself a priority. Why do you think, Nikia, it's so difficult for women to do this? Why do most of us, and I'm not going to generalize, but a lot of the beautiful women that I've had on this podcast, they had to hit this sort of rock bottom to get this realization, right? And it's kind of not a breakdown. I call it a breakthrough. But why do we have to get to that? Why can't we realize it before?
And that's the problem, and that's why I started my mission. I'm like, "Listen, if I can stop you from getting to this point, if I can catch you at the halfway point and we can make changes from there, then I'll consider, like, my job done well." But as I was doing my recovery and listening to these books and learning more deeply about what's happening, socially, it kind of made more sense, right? So I listened to the book Fierce Self-Compassion by Kristen Neff, and that was one of the books I've revisited numerous times on this journey to burnout recovery, and she says it so plainly, like, yes, we're human beings. All of us are human beings, but women are raised as human givers. We are literally raised to give and give and give, and we embody that. And so, whenever you feel like you're going to prioritize yourself or say no or do whatever you need to do for yourself, the first thing you feel is not empowerment, is guilt because been raised to give and give and give until you have nothing left. And so in changing that mindset, it's like you have been raised to do that, but at the end of the day, you know where that ends up. It ends up with you being exhausted, with you not taking care of yourself, with you not having time for your hobbies or the things that you value because you're prioritizing everybody else over yourself. And so working on realizing that you feel guilt because that's how you were conditioned, but it's okay to feel the guilt and still not backtrack, you know? And the more that you just practice protecting your boundaries and saying no, the the easier it becomes. It's like a muscle. You get to like practice it. It's not something that's easy. And to this day it's still something that I struggle with, but it's something that I know on the back end will protect me if I say no to something that's not going to really give me the rest, the peace, the energy that I need.
Right. So it's in our DNA, isn't it? Embedded
Yeah.
in our
We
DNA.
are socialized, honey. It's a
Yeah.
hard thing to become.
Exactly. So do you think it's changing? Like, do you see the fourth, 5 generations of women in the future? Where do you see this going?
I do think it's changing, and that's part of, like, when I say you have to lead by example. So I lead with softness, and just seeing that just gives people permission. Not that you need permission, but sometimes we're quietly waiting permission. So if I tell you that I work part-time and I have no kids, but I have a housekeeper and I don't like to cook and I order, a home delivery service, then maybe you're just like, "Oh, I don't like to cook. Maybe I can do that." It's not There's nothing wrong with that, protecting that time or protecting that energy. And so I always tell mothers especially, like, "Listen, I'm not a mother, and so whatever I'm dealing with, yours is just amplified. So if I can give you any solace in delegating or giving away these tasks you don't wanna do, please take it." You know, like, take it because you have twice as much laundry as I have. You have twice as much cooking and cleaning that I have. And so just come to peace with that. So I think that as we start to take care of ourselves and people can see that in us, it gives them that permission that they can do the same.
That's so true. So what are some of those signs of burnout that maybe you can share with us that are very typical? Because some of us will not know we're at that burnout stage until it's too late.
Yes, and so I think that most women are open to admit that they're exhausted and they're tired, but they may not admit that they're burnout or realize that they're burnt out. So that's why I do like to go on platforms and discuss some of the symptoms that you may be missing or the signs that you may have. But the first is, yes, you are exhausted. And you may say, "Oh, I'm exhausted. I'm going to sleep all weekend or I'm going to stay home all weekend." And you may find yourself still exhausted because it's bigger than physical. You are mentally and emotionally depleted because you are pulled in so many ways. So not only are you on the run, but you are handling things, making a million decisions a day. You're in charge of all of these things. So it's mental, emotional, and physical depletion. And so sleep alone is not going to help you recover if you're on your way to burnout. Secondly, like emotionally, you may be feeling like different things. So some people on the spectrum might feel numb or checked out. So that was me. I go through my day on autopilot. I can get everything done, but not kind of register how I felt about it or like why I was doing it. I was just doing it because I knew it had to be done. And I would wake up every day, kind of like dreading the day, like it's going to be a long day. I want to just get through it so I can get home and go to sleep and start it all over again. And so you kind of become like robotic and moving on autopilot, a little bit detached from yourself. On the other spectrum, you might find that certain emotions that you have had before are amplified. And so for me, towards like the end, like when I got really close to that break that pivotal moment, I went from being numb to being like overly emotional in certain ways, like annoyance. Um, was a big one, and so I actually became annoyed by a lot of things, and things that were small. Me misplacing my keys that I would've been like, "Oh, Nikia, why would you do that?" But then, like, I was ruminating on it and not forgetting it, and then the big point for me with the was I was getting my nails done, and I enjoy getting my nails done. It's something that I like to do for myself, but I found myself sitting there saying, "Oh, this is taking so long. I could be doing so many other more productive things than this." And so, while I believe that self-care is more than just, aesthetics and massages, but if you're doing that so that you can decompress, but you're finding yourself being annoyed and not able to decompress, that's a pretty big sign. And so I know women are like, "Oh, I'm getting my nails done," and all you can think about is all the other things I could be doing. So you're not relaxing, you're not enjoying the moment, you're not trying to come to peace, you're running your list, you're thinking and thinking and thinking. You're not giving your brain or your emotions that break. And so those were just some, like, early signs before I literally got to that breakdown or breakthrough, I'll call it.
Yeah.
I love that.
I know, right? Wow, yes, and these sound so common, right? And we either, like, brush them under the carpet or just say, like, "Yeah, I'm just experiencing some of these symptoms," but they're just so common, and I just hope that more women listen to these podcasts and this information, and they're like, "Wow, this is me. This sounds like me." So to really address it. So what are some of the ways we can address it? So you talked a little bit about boundaries. What else we do? Or you can explore, or emphasize what we can do when it comes to boundaries.
Yes. I mean, to address it, it's definitely a journey. It takes time to get to this level of burnout, so it does take time to get out of it. And so it does start with being self-aware, like, "Hey, this is my life, so I have to take the ownership of it." And then it's like, what is important to me, because you can't create boundaries unless you know what you're protecting. And when you know what you're protecting, you're going to protect it like more strongly, right? So like if you know like, oh, to me my family is a value, my family is important. So if they're asking you to work extra overtime, stay later, and you're saying yes, are you protecting what you value, which is time with your family? And so that's the you have to answer. And you have to realize that there is seasons. Maybe you do want a promotion. Maybe you do want a raise. So you know that for the next I'm going to protect work and I'm going to push for this. But then at the next 6 months, I'm going to protect family. So it's not like it's set in stone. It's dynamic. And that's the part where you have to be real with yourself to say what is important for me in this season and how do I protect it. So like once you realize that, I think it makes the boundaries easier. Not easy, but it's just like if I say yes to overtime, I'm going to miss my daughter's ballet recital. And I said that this is the season where I'm focusing on family. So I'm going to have to say no to overtime. And at least you can rationalize it. You're like, this is why I'm doing it. As opposed to just being like, yeah, I want to be a team player. And then on the back end, you're disappointing your family or whatever else you thought was valuable. And secondly, I do think again, I love, like, massages and mani-pedis, I'm not gonna downgrade those, but we have to get into, like, the real self-care, which is the restoration, like, what really energizes you, who pours into you, what are your hobbies, what brings you joy, and how can we get more of those going? Because I hate when I coach a woman and I'm like, "What is your hobby?" or "What would you do just for fun?" And they don't have anything because everything that they do is about productivity or being efficient. And I'm like, we have to get back to the hobbies. We have to get back to ourselves, like tap into ourselves and tap into the people who pour into us and remind us of ourselves and of our power.
It's so true. It's so true. And I even see it with like my parents, like the older generation, like the men always have somewhere to go, right? They're either, I don't know, like even my dad, like he does the botche and he does that. And my mom just focused so much on us when that she just forgoed all her hobbies and what she likes to do. And I see this even in like younger women as well that are married and the husbands are doing golfing and they're doing their thing, and then they're just at home, and I find that that is key, is to find what truly lights you up and what recharges your batteries, right? And stick with it. Yeah, for sure. So is there a way to find out if people are like, I don't know what I like? Is there what do you tell them? Like how do you coach them through that?
I know this is a tough one, but I mean, we go back to like childhood, right? When you're like, what is your childhood self? Like, when was, and I asked a few questions, like, when was the last time you remember laughing like uncontrollably? Like, what were you doing or who were you with? And you can kind of like, remember that time at that party when we were like playing charades and we were all just like, whatever that was. And then also like just back to childhood, like, what did you truly enjoy doing when you were just carefree? Because you're still that person, you're just now inundated with the life and the hustle of everything. And so for me, I actually did used to enjoy, like, doing sports and dancing and working out, so it started with, like, "Okay, let me go to Zumba. Let me figure out how to get back in the gym," and then it ended up with me, falling in love with Pilates, and that was, like, the journey that I got to for as far as my movement practice. And then just small things, like, when was the last time you walked outside? Like, for me, it had been years. I never walked outside. I'm like, "I don't wanna walk, I'm tired," but outside of just the physical aspect of it, being in nature, getting the sunlight, letting the mind wander, just being in awe of these other things, it kind of just starts to help you remember that it's bigger than you. But it's really hard when you are in it and, like you have work, kids, house, all these obligations. It's really hard to remember to just step outside and look. And so, we go through a few things, but just the last time you laughed, what you really enjoyed doing as a child, or just like the people that when you're with them, you physically feel at ease, like spending more time with those people or doing those things is the first step to kind of like remembering who you were before life got in the way.
That's so true. That's so true. So I remember when I was a child, because I grew up in Italy. I came to Canada when I was 8. I would sing to the mountains because we lived in a small village in a mountain. So I would sing to them, and I would pretend I was singing in English, which I did not speak at the time. So I'm like, I remember that's definitely a really awesome memories and playing sports. And this is why just love playing sports right now too, and it really really does fill my cup. I like that exercise. Okay, cool. So in terms of, is there an opportunity, not an opportunity, but is there a right stage in life? Would you recommend a mother with, really young kids to do this now or wait until they're a little older, they have their routine going, they're a little bit more self-sufficient, or it's like, no, start as soon as possible? What are
I
your thoughts?
always yeah, start as soon as possible, and maybe as they get older, it can grow. I mean, it can be as little as just 5 minutes. Like, if you enjoy singing or dancing, it doesn't have to be going to a class every week. It could just be sitting in your house and singing one your favorite song in your kitchen to your kids, or maybe you wanna sing with them, or you can dance around them and then dance with them. I think that the best way that I can explain it to women, especially with kids, is if they see you doing it now, then they can embody it themselves as they get older. So if you wait, they don't see it. But when you see it, like I saw my mom, yes, I don't remember her having hobbies. I remember her working very hard, but I do remember her going on an annual girls' trip every year. Like, oh, I'm going away with my friends from college for 1 week. We're going on a cruise. I remember that, So I was like, yeah, she always this trip. She made sure that she was with her friends about it, they planned it, so then leading up to it, they were talking and she was all excited. Then she would go on the trip, then she would come back and share pictures. And so those are memories I have. And so I think that when you kind of start and you start it, you make it a habit, they witness it, then they can build their own self-care practice.
Yes, so true, so true. I often quote this little incident that happened with my friend. So I went over, did a little quick workout, half an hour, and her girls wanted to play. And she's like, "Well, mommy's working out right now. You can join Rita and I, or you can just wait till we're done." And they actually joined us doing like squatting and abs and stuff like that. So yes, I highly recommend doing it. So okay, so you answered my question. Start right away, start small, even if it's like 5 minutes in the bathroom by
5
yourself,
minutes is
doing
fine.
a quick breathing technique. The one that we did today was literally 2 minutes or maybe 3, but
That
not
was great
doesn't
too.
take.
I love that. Just wanted to say, I really
Yeah.
loved that.
Thank you, thank you. So it doesn't have to be like this crazy overhaul, that's gonna take up your whole day, right? Or another thing on your to-do list. I love habit stacking, Nikia. I don't know if you're familiar with that. So just something that you're already doing, stack it on top of that so it doesn't seem like another thing on your to-do list.
Yes, I love that. I love habit tracking for sure.
Yeah, me too. So, okay, so tell us then, the superwoman or the strong black woman is a myth. It's highly glorified and often celebrated, but it
Mhm.
is a myth.
Yes.
Okay.
It's definitely a myth, but we are. So we're already told to give as women, and then we think that we have to be perfect. We think that asking for help is a weakness.
Yes.
So that leads to us doing everything on our own and expecting it to be perfect. And that is the superwoman myth. It's like we already know that nothing is ever perfect. So striving for perfection is just a setup, and it just keeps you, it drains your energy, it drains your time, right? You're like, "This needs to be perfect," but, it's not, it's never going to be, and then even if it is perfect, somebody will always have something to say, and so now it's like you've diverted energy and time from something else that you could have been focusing on, and it's just interesting to me, the stats. So I was at her conference recently, and I've heard this before, but she just reiterated it, like, "A woman will not apply to a job unless she meets 100% of the criteria." But a man will apply to the job meeting 60 to 70% of the criteria because we think we have to be perfect. So we're just missing out and we're hard on ourselves. And they're just out here applying like, well, I'm good enough. Like we are good enough. You're already good enough. Just go in it with the good enough energy. This is good enough. I'm good enough. But it's very difficult because that's what leads to part of our burnout is not be willing to delegate, not willing to settle for 70 or 80% in some aspects. Not willing to ask for help, or even if someone offers help, just saying, no, it's okay, I got it. Like, no, like just be like, okay, you offered, sure, you can do this part of it.
Yeah, it's so true. And so why in Europe, yeah, I've heard this. So my previous career before the wellness was in human resources. So yeah, I've come across that and I saw a lot of men that were applying for jobs, and I'm like, "Where are you going?" And they would come and be like, "Yeah, can I apply for this job?" No, you can't. You cannot. You're not even qualified. So it just really baffles me. But I thought it would change because I was in HR 16 years ago, right? I mean, but it hasn't. It hasn't. So
I
tell me
agree.
in your opinion, because yes, I've experienced this myself and I've come across a lot of women and clients too. Why, in your opinion, is it so hard to ask for help as a woman?
Think that women, they fear that asking for help means that they can't handle it, and we can handle it. So when I tell the women, we everybody already knows you can handle it. If you couldn't handle it, it wouldn't have been tasked to you or assigned to you or whatever, or even the opportunity wouldn't come to you if you couldn't handle it. But asking for help or even just receiving help. A lot of them even just have trouble receiving help. I'm like, before we even get to asking, when somebody offers, just
Yeah,
don't say no. Like that's
like
the first step, right? Like
I
the first step
mean,
is not asking for help. The first step is people are already offering you help and you keep saying no. So can we talk about that? Um, and that's part of it. It's like, well, then I wouldn't be qualified or competent, or I can't handle it, or I'll seem weaker. And I'm just like, no, that's not the case. Like literally definition of leadership is not doing everything yourself. It's knowing when to let somebody else do it. And and what that brings to you. So we always go back again to the values. Like what is important to you right now? Because if you're telling me that getting in charge of your health and wellness and working out, time with your family is important, then we know that you can't do those things. Those things take time and energy, but you can't do those things if you're doing all these other things that are less important. So how do we offload those? And the only way to offload those is to let someone else do it, which is if they offer, let them do it. And if they don't offer, ask for help or delegate it. But it's just very hard because we want to do it all. And we also think that some people won't do it as well as us. And it's probably true. But I said, like, well, some of the things don't have to be done at your level. Like, so if they are important, then you do them. And if they're not as important, like, is the lunches really that important? Do they have to be a lunch made by you? Maybe you can just write notes and someone else can make lunch and you can put your notes in there. Like, what is it that we can offload? So but again, it goes back to how we were raised. Like, just do everything. You can do it. Be the good girl, be the team player, but it's not going to get us anywhere fast. And so I do think that sometimes we look at our male colleagues, whether, our spouses or our work colleagues, and be like, oh, they have no problem sending an email saying, hey, Joe, can you handle this?
yeah,
They
true.
email you all the time asking you to handle it. Like that's how you got tasked this because someone said, "Hey, Dr. Smith, can you handle this committee?" And then I'm like, well, actually, I could, but only if I have protected time. And if I don't, then maybe someone else should handle it. Like that's how we work on that.
Yeah, that's so true. That's so true. And it's funny because I had somebody else on the other day, and she talked about that her mom and her grandmother would say the same. They would literally, if she was just standing around the kitchen, make yourself useful. So,
Yeah.
and no, obviously we can't blame them. They were raised the same way. So she always needed to make herself useful, right? And yeah. And so it comes down to not, um, maybe not valuing rest and recovery because it's not seen as productive, especially if you're high performing. So how do you work with your clients on this? What do you do with them to help?
This is a big reframe because yeah, I we don't value rest. We think we earn rest, and then rest is kind of on the back end. But I always remind them like if when you have a rested moment, like if you slept great and you wake up that morning or had a nap and you wake up, how do you feel? And you feel better. And I'm like, you so worried about being productive, but if you are working from an area of depletion, everything is going to take longer and not be as good as it would have been if you were rested. So that's usually my first reframe. I don't like to ground it in productivity, but if that's where you're already at, I'm telling you, if you're rested, you will be more productive and more efficient. And that's just a fact. Like there's plenty of evidence on that's why they tell you to get your sleep. When you wake up, your brain will be refreshed, you will be thinking more clearly, you will be able to function. A lot of us function off of caffeine and cortisol, a little bit foggy sometimes, but we keep pushing through. And I'm like, if you had just didn't drink more coffee and took a nap and you woke up with clarity, would you be able to do things more easily? And they can always admit to that. So we start with that. But at the end of the day, I'm always telling them, like, you don't earn rest. You're not going to rest just so you can be more productive. You're going to rest so that you can enjoy your life. Because at the end of the day, it's your life and you only have one. And you want it to be as memorable and joyful as possible. And it's not going to be memorable or joyful if you're always functioning with chronic fatigue and exhaustion.
Exactly. Yeah. And even in terms of it's going to take you like double the time to finish
Double
something
time to
because
do anything. Watch. Time your task. You'll see if you did this task at the end of the day versus going to sleep and doing it at the beginning of the morning, the time it takes to do the task will be shorter. You'll feel better about the overall quality of the task. And so why even do that to yourself?
and I'm curious, what are some of the, I guess, excuses that your clients are making for not choosing recovery or not choosing rest that you hear?
Well, my favorite one is like, "Well, once I do all of these things, then I will rest," and I'm like, "It's never done. We know this. This is the biggest lie we tell ourselves." Like, the list is ever growing. As soon as you cross off one thing, 3 more things are added, and so we do a lot around, like, what is the top 3 priorities of the day, and once those are completed, then you can rest, and then if you feel energized or whatever, you can tackle some of the smaller things, but we like to say that we're gonna do everything, and we're overscheduled and overextended, so I was just like, "No, just 3 things, just 3, and that's it, and then what rest are you going to do?" And I do like to come back to the fact that rest does not have to be a big to do either. It could be 5 minutes of just sitting outside, listening to an audiobook for 30 minutes, going on a quick walk, like, there's lots of different ways to rest outside of sleep, and when you start incorporating the different types of way, you'll see, again, your brain is stimulated, your creativity is stimulated, and those will help you do the other things that you say are important to you.
Yeah, so you're giving yourself permission not to carry it all.
Not all of it. It's not
Yeah.
all yours to carry. It's not yours. You're taking it upon yourself.
Mhm, and it's funny, I often say this story too. I was working with a lady, oof, maybe in, high school, and I remember her telling me that when I have my partner, make sure that he does, some housework around the house, like the dishes and loads the dishwasher and mops the floor, and Rita, if he doesn't do it perfect, doesn't matter. Let him do it because or else it's gonna be too late, to actually ask down the road. So, yes, asking for help, not having it to be perfect, and so that you don't have to do it all. And if it's not done the way you do it, it's okay. If you have time, you can do it again. But if not, most probably not, then they've actually learned that they need to help you with that chore.
They need to help. And that's why it's like, establish it now. Make it something that your kids are seeing so that they know that that's how it should be for them. both sexes, like this is how we work together. There's not a gender role. We are collaborative and we work together as a team or as a family. I mean, I had my chores when I was a kid, and there was some things you has to be useful, and I was like, yeah, I definitely got a lot of that, and we get that positive reinforcement for being useful, which makes us go out and be more useful, and that leads to our Superwoman. But I think overall, just when you start with yourself, it has such a ripple effect. Like you don't know who's watching. You know your kids are watching you, but other people are watching you. Your colleagues are watching you. Your listeners are following you. And so, just when you start with yourself and you ripple out and you just give everybody that permission to stop and do a breath work for 2 minutes, to stop and, go outside and enjoy the sun on their face for 5 minutes, to just say no for the day and just lay on the couch, then it's like it just keeps going. And I'm just so excited. Like you said, the generations out, I think that what we're doing now is going to push out. And I'm excited and I look forward to seeing how this impact, um, carries through.
Yeah, so what do you envision that what would happen? Like, what would happen? What would be
So
sort of typical dynamics
I
and
know. It's gonna be crazy. The dynamics are kind of different, so I'm not exactly sure. But I do remember a few years ago, my niece was like, "Oh, when I grow up, I wanna be just like you." And I was in the throes of my burnout, and I was like, "No, you do not wanna be like this. I am so tired. Sleep doesn't help. I drink 4 coffees a day. I don't take care of myself. I don't drink enough water. I don't work out. I don't eat healthy. I just eat fast food." And so I was like, "Oh, no." Like she can't think that this is the aspiration, that this is how things are. So I have to change that now. And so I am hoping for her that as she grows up, and I don't know what field she'll go into, that she'll feel more empowered to negotiate, right? Like negotiating is part of it. I know it's not part of self-care, but it kind of is, because the reason why women are working harder is because we're getting paid less for the same hours that men are working. So it's just like if I negotiate for a higher salary, or maybe I negotiate for more time off, or maybe I negotiate for stricter hours, that is in part leading to your boundaries and your time and energy for self-care and for family time and whatever else that you think is important. So I think it all just trickles down from there. But to just empower the women, especially, to realize that there is time, there is a time and space to be a giver, and but there is a time and space to self protect your self care, and have as much, again, self compassion and self trust that you give to others, because that's just kind of how you progress on this road.
right. I love that. I love that. And in terms of how you work with your clients, where do you start? Do you start with, I don't know, their sleep or the recovery? Like in terms of how would you work with someone?
So I do like to start with the audits, right? So it's like, how is your sleep? How are your energy levels? What is your time looking like? And so, like, when you go through and you document your time, like, I think people have heard of a time audit where you just like kind of track every hour or so what you've been doing, and you can see where you're giving most of your time to. But I also like to correlate that with the energy, because some people will say, I give a lot of time here, but it's actually not draining, or it's recharging. So that's actually not bad. Like if you give a lot of your time to maybe community service, you're like, oh, I do a lot of community service, or I do a lot of working out, but that's a time where I feel recharged and restored. We're not going to want to do too much with that time. So we want to see where your time is being consumed, but also are you most energetically drained? Who and what is draining your energy? That way we can know, like, how to prepare for that. Sometimes you can't avoid it. It's work or a person at work you can't avoid, but maybe you can prepare. Like, okay, I know I have a meeting with so and so. Before the meeting starts, let me do some breath work and meditation so I can calm my mind before going into that energy with them. And maybe after the meeting, I give myself 5 minutes to just go outside and like feel the sun and walk around and try to recharge, or maybe listen to my favorite song and be empowered or feel great, like this, whatever. So we do a lot of work around that. And then also the sleep. I do believe in having a sleep schedule, a sleep regimen, sleep rituals. But I also know that sleep is important, but a lot of women, again, need the other types of rest to feel fully restored.
Yeah. Have you come across the research and the statistics that women actually need more sleep than men?
Yeah, I believe that. I believe that wholeheartedly. I mean, for many, many years as a physician, we've already known that almost all research studies about doses, medications, standard numbers, all of those have been conducted in men. And so women, like, we have a different level of emotional and mental taxation across the day. I'm not going to say that men don't have to make a lot of hard decisions, but women typically will have the third shift or the kin keeping, right? So not only are you managing work and yourself, you're managing appointments and all of this other stuff for numerous people, like not just family members. I manage friends, I'm managing this, I'm managing that. And so that becomes more taxing. And I think that the perfectionist in women leads also to more rumination and more thoughts. Like, I should have done this, or I could have done this better. And so you can ruminate about something that's happened for the rest of the day. Then you'll go into the evening thinking about how you're going to get through tomorrow because there's already so much on your plate. And so I do think that we would need more rest and recovery for the amount of additional stress that we go through.
So, in terms of, I know you offer such a beautiful reframe that softness can be strength and rest can be leadership. So, what does that look like in practical terms? And how can and it's your version of strength, right? So, so yeah, tell us a little more how that can be embodied and what that looks like in a woman
Right.
stepping into this.
So I do believe in a soft strength, and people maybe not won't believe in it, so I try to live by example. But, again, I say when you are the most rested, the most clear version of yourself, that's the best version that you can be for yourself.
So, Nikia, you offer such a beautiful reframe that softness can be strength and rest can be leadership, as we mentioned earlier. But what does it look like in a practical and embodied way for women to be stepping into that version of strength?
Yes. So I wholly believe in soft strength. I think that, as we've said before, we think we have to be productive and useful, and that things, um have to be hard to be worth it, and that if things are easy or soft, then maybe people will think that we're kind of lazy. And so it's just these words I'm trying to kind of change the image around. Like, instead of saying I'm having a lazy afternoon, I'm saying I'm having a restorative afternoon, because lazy implies something, it's very negative. And so I'm like, no, I'm not being lazy. I'm being intentional about not doing anything so that my body and mind can restore. And so I always tell my clients that life is literally hard enough. It is hard. So choosing to make things as easy for yourself as possible or softer rather than harder does not mean that life is easy. It just means that you can make it a little bit easier. Stop making it harder on yourself by doing everything yourself, not asking for help, all of those things. And when I say that, rest is a part of leadership, it's multifaceted. Like I said, leading by example. If you prioritize rest or have strong boundaries, then whoever is behind you watching you has that permission to prioritize rest and have strong boundaries. And again, when you are rested, the rested version of yourself is the best version of yourself. It's the most clear, the most efficient, the most productive. So if you are valuing those things in this arena, which, work or whatever, nothing is wrong with being productive and efficient, but just knowing that the best way to do it is to be rested. It just starts you on the path correctly. It's not by pushing through, not by skipping sleep. When you sleep and wake up, you will be more clear and more efficient. And there's just so much research around sleep and your brain and your restoration, and you just it's necessary. So stop neglecting it.
So, Nikia, you shared a powerful moment when your mother revealed she had been exhausted for decades. How did that shift your understanding of what strength had looked like in your family and how you unconsciously inherited? And of course, now really has inspired you to have a new version of strength and help other women doing the work that you're doing.
And it was such a powerful moment for me. It really was, having this conversation with my mother, as an adult, and realizing the amount of guilt that she carried about thinking that she missed stuff, thinking that she worked too much, thinking that she just didn't do enough, but that she was literally doing everything and was tired the whole time. So it definitely helped me, like, be like, "Wow," 'cause I didn't have that perception, and so I always share this with my clients who are mothers. I'm like, "Listen, I won't speak to you as a mother, I'll speak to you as a daughter who now has a very close relationship with her mother, whose mother she's very proud of what I'm doing." Um, and I just want them to know, like, my mother went through thinking she had to do all of these things. So she did a lot of stuff, but she also felt like she missed some of the most important moments. But when I looked back, she was at everything that I deemed important. So she was carrying guilt for a very long time. in that I think that's just a terrible feeling to actually go through life being the superwoman, but not even feeling good about it, carrying guilt with it. And so I'm just like, wow. So not only are you doing the most, but you don't even feel good about it because you still feel like you're missing important things. And so I always try to reframe for my clients and especially for my mothers, like your your children, if that's what you're doing it for, like you're doing this for your children. Um, they are gonna have some moments, and that is why we have to remember you won't be able to be there for everything, especially if they're in a lot of activities, a lot of sports, a lot of this, a lot of that. You will miss some things because work or other obligations will come in the way. But just trying to have that conversation with them about what they think is important, because you're gonna think that this is important to them, but maybe they're saying, "I was only doing this for you. I was doing ballet because you wanted me to do ballet. It wasn't important to me. But when you came to the spelling bee, that was really important to me." And so it's just like it's an interesting dynamic. It takes a lot of time to figure out and to work through, but um, knowing what's truly important to you, like if is it family, is it promotion, is it getting your health on track, figuring out in that moment, and then just having these conversations with your kids. Because I've played a lot of sports, like we talked about sports earlier. I actually enjoy sports, but I didn't find that I felt that any of these moments were really important in my sports because I was like, I would just go from basketball to volleyball to this to that. I'm like, no, nothing was important. But, like, my senior game was important, and my senior game, my mom was there, she made a sign, I was like, "You were at my senior game." I mean, when I went to prom, you were there taking pictures, you took me dress shopping, like, those
Yeah.
were the things that really mattered. I'm like, so it's too much, right? There's too many different roles that you play. There's gonna be a lot of expectations on you, and you can't be at everything that you might think is important, but if you think about your own life and what was truly important to you, try to remember those moments and be there for those moments for your kid.
Got it. Yeah. Super, super helpful. Actually, there were some games that my parents didn't come to, and I wish I would even look over to see if they were sitting on the bench and they never came.
They didn't come to one game, and I remember I was kind of upset, but then I ended up having a terrible game. And, what came first, chicken or the egg? Was I gonna have a terrible game and I'm happy they weren't there? Or did I have a terrible game because I got in my mind? I don't know. But at the end of the day, I was like, I'm happy no one saw that. There's no document, there's no proof. This game never happened. It never
Yeah. That's so funny. So if a woman listening or watching, she is recognizing that she's definitely operating from this survival mode versus this soft leadership or soft strength. Where would you start with her? Would you start like the reframe, the mental aspect, or would you help her with some practical um I guess, rituals that she can start working on? Or I know you'll do the time audit, but how important is the mindset? Would that come first?
The mindset is very important, and I do mindset work first because you can start with practical stuff, but unless you know why you're doing it or what you're doing it for, it's easy to let it go to the wayside, right? Like, the practical stuff, it requires intention, it requires time, it requires habit stacking and building these new habits. And so I can tell you that you should sleep more, and unless you understand truly why you should sleep more, then you're going to do it for a little bit and you're going to give up. Think we all know that without having a strong enough why, we can give up anything, even if it's something that we say we want. People give up on what they say they want all the time.
Mm,
People are living in, like, people are not living out their dreams all the time. Like, we can see so many people who say they want a big dream or they wanna start a business or they wanna get promoted or whatever, and they're not actually taking the actions, and that's because the why is not strong enough. So the mindset, the why, the values, the priorities, the future, like how you envision your future and why making this change now would be really, instrumental towards you, your legacy, your children, that is what keeps you going. And so, again, I agree with that. I would do the mindset first, and then I would follow with the smallest practical step after. The
mm.
5 minute, the 1 minute, the one I mean, you can do breath work in, like you said, 2 minutes, 1 minute, just take, 2 box breaths.
Yeah, 30 seconds even if you wanna go.
Exactly. I'm like,
Yeah.
this is the practical this is the mindset, but this is the practical, we can go all the way down to 30 seconds. 30 seconds a day. Every time you stop at a red light or, whatever, anytime you're on the elevator, like, these are how we start, and then we just build up from there.
Yeah, I love my red light breathing
Yeah,
techniques.
red light breathing. I'm like, oh,
Yeah. Yeah.
if I don't take the stairs, I take the elevator, I'm going to like not be on my phone. I'm gonna like close my eyes and just do some breathing, or
Yeah.
just an intentional moment of gratitude, like because it's just the elevator ride. Like you can do something as small as that.
Yes, exactly. So do you find, I'm just curious, that you are reframing your clients towards something or away from something? Is it more the towards, or kind of your let's avoid this, where burnout, exhaustion, or move towards more energy? Do you find that it's more one or the other, or it's kind of a mix?
I think it's kind of a mix depending on the person, but I would say that mostly it's away because they're mostly escaping, right? That we don't necessarily know what a soft life or what thriving or what sustainable success could be for us yet because we're just so tired from the hustle culture. So I think the first step is just how do we just break free from the hustle, the people pleasing, the perfectionism. And once you start breaking away from that and creating just a little bit more space to think and to dream, like people don't like, I mean, yeah, dream at sleep, but like, no, like daydream, like dream, like literally, like what could your life look and feel like if everything went the way you wanted or that kind of stuff. Once we get to that moment, then like the next step is we can say, okay, now we're going to build towards that. Now you know what you would like, how life could look and feel. Um, but it's hard to think about that when you're so exhausted and burnt out from the hustle. It really is.
For sure, for sure. And again, that self-compassion, self-love, all that good stuff that we talk.
Self-trust too. I mean,
Self
we have a hard time trust we do so much but we still have a hard time trusting ourselves. And I'm just like, girl, look what you've done. Of course you can trust yourself. You've made some amazing decisions. You've gotten this far in life. So trust yourself that if you make a decision to take care of yourself, that will be your best decision for you.
It's so true, it's so true. How would you talk to a friend about you? You know?
Exactly.
So, yeah, all the accomplishments. We often don't celebrate enough, that's for sure too. Mm. So tell us about you, and what are your top 3 non-negotiable self-care habits?
Yeah. So now that I have recovered from my burnout, my top three non-negotiables. And again, like I said, things can be dynamic, right? So right now, I have escaped from the throes of my deep burnout and I have prioritized self-care. So for me, like a non-negotiable at this stage for me is daily movement. Like I do something every day. Sometimes I'm just walking or walk my dog. If I know I'm not doing anything else besides walking my dog, I'll take like a longer, 2 30-minute walks. If I'm doing like Pilates or going to strength training or going to Zumba or whatever I'm doing, then I'll do that plus walk the dog. So like daily movement is now a non-negotiable for me. I just realized I feel better, my body feels better, my mind feels more clear if I get activity in.
Mhm.
Also, a non-negotiable for me is I start every morning with gratitude. I do my journal. If I'm too busy for my journal, I try and do it on my walk or as I told you, or in the elevator, or I just try and list 2 or 3 things I'm grateful for, just to remind me again, like I said, how much I've already accomplished, how much I already have. Like when you kind of realize, yes, I do want more, but look at how far I've come. It's like, yes, I wanna impact 1,000 women, but I've already impacted 10, and I'm just grateful for that, you know? Like, it helps us because we are so ambitious, we're high achieving, like, we're on it, women are taking over, but we can do that, but we have to also just remind ourselves and be grateful for how far we've come and how much we've already accomplished. And then the last thing that has become a priority for me now is just making my connection more intentional. I found that I would go about the day thinking about people and wondering about people, but not actually like messaging them or reaching out to them. And so now it's like, oh, I thought about her 3 times in the past week. I'm going to message her and say, I've been thinking about you. I love you. I hope all is well. If you have time, let's get on a call. And that's something that was really hard. Like if you're burnt out and exhausted, talking and communicating can feel like another task. It could be draining. But when you kind of step back, like usually when you talk to someone that you really love or been thinking about after that conversation, either they needed it or you needed it. They're like, "I needed this," and you're like, "Me too." And so it's a big hurdle. I'm not gonna say it's always easy. Sometimes I'm like, I don't even wanna talk for like 3 days, but I still try to be intentional about it because sometimes it's usually what we both need, and I know it. That's why they keep coming up. So just being more intentional about connecting with those in my community and in my circle, and just, like, being authentic. Like, I have been thinking about you. I just want to reach out and see how you're doing. Because when I get those messages, I'm like, wow, how did you know that I needed that and I needed to talk, or I needed just to know that someone was caring about me in that moment.
Makes your day for sure, for sure. Yeah, those are awesome. Thanks for sharing. So, what is your legacy, Nikia? What do you want to be known for?
I really, like I told you earlier, I haven't like kind of made the sound that bite of it yet, but if I can prevent as many women as possible from getting to that pivotal burnout moment, yes, it can be a breakthrough, but I believe you can have your breakthrough before getting to that point of depletion. So I'm like, if we can have a breakthrough sooner and just this much exhaustion and depletion, um, that would be amazing. Because I just don't think that we have to go through that to get to the back end. We don't have to go all the way there. We can just go 70% and be like, okay, I can see where this is going. It's time for a change?
Pivot, pivot.
Give it 70%, please. Please don't get to that 100. It's terrible. Like, when you hear these stories of women who have, like, fully burnt out, some people have had to go, to facilities and try to just get themselves together. Like, we don't need to go through that. We as women go through enough. We
Yes.
we don't need to go through that.
No, I love that. I love that. And you're helping so many women. And I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart for taking the time out of your busy day to share what you do and your story and your background and what got you to where you are today. So if a woman listening or even a man listening or watching this is like, okay, I want to follow you. I want to know what you're all about. Maybe join one of your retreats or programs. Where is the best way to connect?
Yeah, so I am a social media girly. You can find me on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. It's at She Is Fire Forged or Nikia Smith MD. On I think on Instagram I have both, and then on YouTube I'm Nikia Smith MD. On TikTok it's She Is Fire Forged. You can send me an email because I love emails. I read and reply to all my emails. I love asking and connecting with people and asking about their story, asking what they're going through, and figuring out how I can help them. So you can email hello@sheisfireforge.com and check out the website www.sheisfireforge.com. If you go /free, I have some free resources
Oh,
around exhaustion and rest that will help you get started. And obviously, you can schedule a call and just figure out if working with me would be your best next step.
amazing. Well, thank you so much. Just
Yes.
a sweet, friendly reminder that we don't have to carry it all. We don't have to get to that point where we're super exhausted and maybe even possibly burn out, and that there is definitely help. There are resources, there are amazing people like you to follow for some tips and to just get to that 70%. Don't make it that 100. Pivot before, make some changes so then you could really start living a beautiful, beautiful life full of joy, full of strength, full of softness. So I'm so, so grateful that you have made time for us today. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Have a beautiful day.
Thank you for tuning in to the Self Care Goddess podcast. If today's episode inspired you, share it with another woman who's ready to reclaim her vitality and lead from within. To continue your journey, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and connect with me on ritasavoya.com. Until next time, remember self care isn't selfish, it's your superpower. Take a deep breath in, exhale, and keep rising. Ciao for now.